staying here. Time to do some stretches for dancers or anyone alike. So I don't have a ballet bar here, but I do have a chair, and it's going to work just as well. We're going to focus on 5 stretches that we want to do that are going to help to release tension in the low back, open up the hips, increase flexibility, and balance. So the first one we're going to do is called an attitude stretch, and we're going to focus on our back attitude. So we're opening up our hip. So I'm just going to take the chair, or maybe you have a tabletop, or maybe you do have a bar. Whatever you have that's going to be probably a good height in line somewhere between your hips and waist that you can just place your hand onto. And we're going to start facing the chair. I'm going to extend one leg back, and I just want a little rotation for my standing foot, so that way my standing hip is also slightly open. I'm going to focus on keeping my hips squared towards the chair, my shoulders squared as well. My hands are light, my shoulders are down my back, and my gaze is forward. So I'm not craning my neck or twisting or dropping down. So now I'm just going to lift this back leg that I have extended, and it just wants to feel like it's weightless. So no tension, maybe even point through your toe, get a little lift up there, and we're going to bend the knee. And then when we bend the knee, we're going to focus on turning the leg out from our hip up here. So when my knee is bent, it's not down facing the mat. Instead, it's rotate a little bit, and now it's facing forward, out to the side. So this is our back attitude position, and depending on your flexibility and strength, it can be all different heights or turnouts or high or low, and every day is different. So just work for wherever you're at now, and then we're going to just practice holding it. And we want to feel the front of this hip open. We're going to feel our hamstrings engage. We're going to feel our glutes engage. We're going to feel our back right here in our low back for the side of the lifted leg. And then once we've got that, we can hold it, or we can just go a little deeper. So you can take your hand, and I'm going to slide it down the front of my leg to my knee, which is going to cause me to lift it even higher. And then you can hold here too. My standing leg, since it's turned out, it can also have a little bend in that knee. I don't want you locking your knee back. I don't want the body tipping forward. So bend that knee a little bit. Keep the chest open. Keep your body tall. And if you want more, then you can lean slightly forward and then work on extending that leg. And then maybe you can bend it. So this is going to increase the stretch in your low back. And when we bend the knee is still facing out to the side. It hasn't dropped down towards the mat. I want to keep a nice open line here from my hip to my knee. And maybe you're just holding. Maybe if you have a strap too, you could always hook that around your foot. You can pull and get a little extra height. And then when we're done, we're going to slowly lower that leg down, and I'm going to take that foot and cross it over my standing leg. So I'm making like a number 4, and then I want to sit back and stretch it all out because we just opened and kind of pulled everything behind us. So now we need to make sure that we stretch that muscle. I'm going to try and keep that foot that's crossed over flexed. And I'm just sitting back. And then stand up, shake it out, and then it's time to do that on the other side. So I'm just going to move my chair around so you guys can see. And then we set up the same exact way. So I'm going to start standing tall. I'm going to take my outside leg, extend it back, and then I want to square my hips, square my shoulders, roll my shoulders down, and look straight ahead. So my standing foot is turned out a little bit on this side, and then I'm going to just lift that back leg up. So see wherever you're able to lift, get a nice stretch, maybe even point through your toe. And then we're going to work on bending that knee. So as I bend the knee, I'm practicing opening from my hip so my knee just isn't facing the ground. I'm bending and rotating open. And this is tricky too, because when we rotate open, sometimes we just want to twist our body. So if your body all of a sudden just went like this and you're open, see if you can go back to squaring off the hips, right? Our belly button is shining forward. And then you can play with how high you want to bring it. If you want to start pulling that foot in a little bit closer. But remember, each side is going to feel different. Every day you're going to feel different. So just work on holding these stretches so then you can increase your flexibility. And then if you wanted to go more, we just take that hand, slide it down the front of your leg to right in front of your knee and give it a little extra boost. So I'm opening it out, and it's kind of opening and turning back too, so you're going to feel more stretch and engagement into that lower back of the same side of the leg you're stretching. Remember that you can always take a little soft bend into that supporting leg too. And then if you're going for the bigger stretch, then you can hinge slightly forward and work on extension, or maybe then you bend it. And remember, even when we're doing this, I'm still focusing on trying to keep my turnout so my knee isn't dropping down, right? There's that nice straight line of my hip to my knee, so it's staying open. Or maybe you're just here and you want to hold it. And then when we're done, we're going to slowly release it down and then take that leg that we are stretching, cross it over, we're going to flex that foot, and we're going to make a number 4, and we're just going to sit back. And then we'll come up, shake it out, shake it out. All right, let me move my chair out of the way. The next stretch that we're going to focus on is for our spine, particularly our low back. So I'm going to come all the way down onto the mat, and I'm going to come laying onto my stomach, and I'm just going to keep my legs straight out behind me. I'm going to keep my arms alongside my body with the palms up first. I'm going to roll the shoulders down my back, and I'm going to take an inhale and lift my upper body and also lift my arms a little bit. And I'm really reaching out back through my fingertips. And my shoulders have slid down away from my ears. My shoulder blades are kind of squeezing towards one another, and my belly button is lifted in and up. And then we'll release all the way back down. And we're going to lift on an inhale and then lower on an exhale. And lift up and hold. And release. And one more, hold. And release. So some variations, you can clasp your hands behind your back. And when you lift, you want to extend and really stretch out your shoulders. This is an option. Can release down. You can let your hands rest to the low part of your back. Let your elbows be wide, your shoulders release. Lift and lower. For those dancers out there, you can extend your arms overhead. Keep that soft little roundness and bend to your elbows. Relax your shoulders and then lift and release. And for those of you that this is too intense, then we can just bring our palms flat down to the mat, right a little bit forward of our shoulders, and then our elbows want to pin in, and then we can press up to here. We can keep our forearms down and just do a very little stretch. Or you can slide the hands out a little bit and press, so maybe your elbows lift, maybe you start to extend to this full extension with straight arms. So there's different varieties and levels for everyone, so pick the one that works best for you. And then coming out of it, we're just going to press ourselves up. And we're just going to take a nice stretch, lowering the hips down to our heels, keeping our arms out, walking them forward down to our extended child's pose. And then we'll walk the hands back in. All right, the next stretch we're going to work on are our splits. So we have to do both the right and the left. And we're going to just start kneeling. And we're going to take one foot forward. I'm taking my right foot forward first. And I want my foot to be flat. I want my toes to stay straight ahead. And I want to watch where my knee lines up too. So I'm going to bring my hands down to the mat. And first I'm just going to stretch forward. So that's going to allow your left hip flexor, or your back leg, to start to really open out. So I'm putting the weight into this right front foot. And I'm also watching that my knee is not passing over my toes. So I don't want my heel to lift. And then you can hold here for as many breaths as you feel like you need. And then I'm going to push strong into that front foot. I'm going to send my hips back so now I can straighten that front leg. I'm going to try to bring my nose all the way down to my knee, or as close as I can get it. And then you can hold that for as long as you need to. And then you can just move between those two. You can just stay right here and have that stretch forward and that stretch back. If you feel like you're ready to advance, then you would start to slide that front foot out, and then you would start to hold down. So the goal still is to keep the knees forward, the toes forward, and the knees straight up to the ceiling. We want our hips square, so we're trying not to move side to side in the hips. And for my dancers out there, we practice this, and we also put a block underneath our hamstring, the back of our leg. So maybe you don't have a block at home, maybe you have a nice big pillow you want to put there, or a stuffed animal, or you could roll up a sweatshirt. Anything that you have just to give yourself that extra support so you can start to make your way all the way down, 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 lower, lower. And when you get to however low that you want to go, you can take that stretch forward. You can lift that arm. You can stretch back. There's different variations. And then we'll come out of that stretch. Come back, kneeling towards the back of your mat, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So now I'm taking my left foot forward, but whichever one that you need to do. And I want to place my foot down flat, keep my toes straight ahead, and watch where my knee is lining up. So then I bring my hands down to the mat, and I'm going to put the weight into this left leg, and then I'm opening through the front of my right hip. And I'm just holding it. So then relax your shoulders, relax all the muscles in your face, and then just breathe. Make sure you can see all 5 toes. Make sure your knee is not passing over and your foot is still flat. And then we're going to send that weight back. So we're pushing the hips behind us so we can extend this front leg now. And I'm going to lower down and try to get my nose as close to my knee as possible. And again, just hold it here. Try to let go of all the tension in your body. If you find areas that seem really tight or that you're just gripping into, see if you can just take a big deep breath. And on the exhale, go a little deeper. Try to let go of all that. And if that's enough for you, then just move in between these stretches. Forward and back. And when you feel ready, maybe you want to slide that front foot out a little bit. And then you just want to hold it too. So we want to make sure that we're in the correct positioning before we just go all the way down. And we definitely don't want to just go straight into a split because we need to keep our body and our muscles protected. We don't want to pull anything. So my toes are still forward, my knee is up to the ceiling. And then whenever you want to go a little lower, then you bring it down a little lower into the position that you feel most comfortable in. And then you just have to hold it and breathe. Think happy thoughts. And then when we're done, then we can release. And I'll take that foot back. And then we're going to come sit all the way down. Move this back a little bit. And then go into our center. There we go. So if you want to do butterfly first, or if you need to do a little stretch or shaking out of the legs in between, definitely do that too. Listen to your body. And now working into our center, we're going to extend our legs out. And again, whatever your length is, that's totally fine. It's going to be different day to day and different depending how often you do it. What is most important though is when we extend our legs out, we want to focus on our turnout. So if your legs are here, but they're turned out, perfect. Work from there. Once you start to add in a little bit more length and flexibility, it doesn't really count if you start to roll in, right? So we want our knees still up to the ceiling. We want our toes pointed out to the side. And then you can just sit here. You can just stay here. If this is good and you're able to hold it, maybe you walk your hands away a little bit. You can see how far you can walk your hands. You can see if you can lower onto your elbows. And just take note though, if you start to go down low or you start to walk out far and your legs start to roll in, or maybe your toes or your ankles are rolling or your knees are kind of bending and lifting up, see if you can just start to relax that. Maybe if that means walking your hands back in, that's what you need to do. Because if we're not stretching, in the right position for our body, then it's not going to help us and it might actually lead to injury. So we need to stop and just pause, make sure we're in the correct positions, and then proceed to go a little bit deeper into your stretch. Now, if this is too much too, center stretch, and doing both legs at once is just too much, then just make it a little bit gentler on your body. Do one at a time. Okay, so our hips are still open. Now you can just focus on the turnout and the extension, the alignment of one. And then you can either reach up and over to the side, keeping the side body open. Feel like this top arm is framing our face, so the elbow is right over our ear. My head's in line with the spine, so I'm not like this, I'm not like this. And then you can also rotate. Maybe you like to stretch over that leg. And this is a nice stretch also through the low part of your back of that extended arm. And then you could come up and then just do the same to the other side. So you can also do both of these stretches, either the side stretch or the extended frontal stretch with the legs both out in your center. So there's different variations, and just decide which one works best for you today. So focusing on the turnout. I also, when I'm stretching side to side, I'm really focusing on keeping my opposite hip down too. Because if that pops and then I just start to lean over, I'm not really getting a good stretch because I'm not anchored down. I kind of just rolled and put my body weight towards my extended leg. So I want to release this top shoulder, right? Keep your neck nice and long. Pretend like you're in a picture frame. And then after you stretch side, then maybe you want to rotate, you want to stretch front. And you can think about bringing your nose down to your knee, but that can just be an image. You don't have to go that far. You can even be right here and you're still stretching forward. So listen to your body and then work smart. Take your stretch as deep or as low as you need to. And then we'll release and come up from there. All right, and then maybe you need to shake it out. And we're going to do one more final stretch today. So similar to our center, it's going to be standing though in a single leg, but what we're working on is that rotation and that alignment of our legs so we can take what we do center and then do it stand.